presenting Abella Goes to the Rodeo, an interview with author Zane Carson Carruth. Hi, Zane. Welcome.
Hi, how are y'all? Happy to
Hi,
be
hi,
here.
Zane. Great to see you again.
Nice to see y'all both again.
Oh, thank
Nice to
you.
see you as well. I was noticing, I was going through our shows and we haven't seen you since January 2021. So, what
Hmm.
have you been up to? You've been putting out great content and you've been doing amazing hosting, entertaining with some of the biggest stars in the world.
Oh,
It's just
really?
been such a rush.
Yeah, it has been. It's been very hectic and it's just gone by so fast. I mean, just being part of the rodeo has been overwhelming. And then I finished another book and I'm working with the producer to do an animated influencer series. So it's been nonstop, but the rodeo has taken up most of my time. That and the SPCA. I'm always involved with the SPCA, but no, it's been a journey that I've enjoyed. But sometimes you just kind of have to stop and take a breath and regroup.
Absolutely, for sure. Something I wanted to ask you because I believe that your new book really has some roots and foundation in the work that you've done in the rodeo. I don't think people realize what a huge undertaking it is, and that you're on 24/7, smiling, walking around, talking to people, and people wanting your autograph, and all of the physical activity you have to do going back and forth. So tell us a little bit about that and how that may or may not have inspired you for Abella and the book.
Well, the rodeo has to show you how big that it is and what it takes to produce the world's largest rodeo, a 70,000 seat arena.
Hmm.
There are 35,000 volunteers that work, and it's a year-round thing. The rodeo only lasts for like 30 days, but all of the events that lead up to it, and then during the rodeo, you have some of the biggest stars in country western music and a lot of crossover that come every night. And it's miraculous because the money goes to the children's scholarship. They give away about $25 million every year, or have been for the past 2 or 3 years. Even during the pandemic, they met all of their financial requirements and promises for the kids' scholarships. So a lot of these children, it's the first generation college, and they're the first generation that speaks English, a lot of them. So
Hmm.
it makes a huge difference in individual lives, and it impacts Houston financially, and it launches stars. I mean, like Parker McCullum. I mean, he played at the rodeo, one of the very first this year, and now you see him everywhere. He is well on his way. And Gwen Stefani, when she was asked to be on the rodeo, and she said this on the Tonight Show, Jimmy Kimmel, she goes, I was thinking rodeo, but she was blown away. It's 70,000 people are yelling and screaming your name and buying tickets and promoting the world's largest rodeo. Plus, it's the real deal. Those cowboys, they get on those bronking bulls and those bronking horses, and it's something to behold. I'm very proud of my husband for the work that he has done. He's been involved 30 years. His dad was head of the rodeo, and now he is, and now I'm first lady of the rodeo. Anyway, this coming year will be our last year. It's a 3-year commitment,
Hmm.
and I've enjoyed it immensely and met a tremendous amount of people because I was never involved in the rodeo. I never sat on a committee. Well, I did for just a teeny weeny bit, but not like these people. They take their vacations, save their vacations, the volunteers, to get their 30 hours in to keep their badges. It really is something that to behold, and there needs to be a whole TV show about it. But
Right.
and it is, you can't see it on the TV Cowboy Network. So,
And Zane, we
We
do have a picture. Tell us a little bit about this.
oh, that's my husband Brady, and that was closing day. That was the last day that I always kind of went for the sparkly outfits. Everybody dresses differently, but yeah, you could tell he looks kind of tired. But
I love
that
your
was a lot of
jacket.
fun. That was, I think well over 1 million people come through that rodeo in those 30 days.
That's incredible. You know, we live in the Northeast, and as any Texan knows, the Northeast is kind of a sheltered environment where we don't really have a lot of exposure to the great outdoors. But I've traveled a bit, and whenever I've had the chance, I've gone to rodeos, and they're a great experience. I wasn't expecting to spend this much time talking about them, but that whole idea of the experience of the rodeo, I think, is something that's kind of foreign to many of the people who live up here.
Well, yeah, because these cowboys are so young, a lot of them. They've got 3 and 4 kids, and you see them getting bucked off that bull or that horse. And then earlier you see them in their little stroller and their kids, and it's a huge family affair. I mean, before the rodeo, we have somebody does a prayer. They sing the Star Spangled Banner. It's a very patriotic. It's extremely patriotic. It's life-changing for a lot of people. And I would invite y'all to come next year. It's our last year to be the head guy, as I call it. So you will never experience the rodeo like you do with the head guy. I mean, we have an armed bodyguard that walks around with us everywhere we go, and a driver, and you go through the back doors and you meet these stars, and it's a lot of them are this big. The camera does add 10 pounds.
I'm 100% sure that Dr. JACALYN would be great at the barrel race. We'll get her on a horse. You can do that, barrel racing and steer roping. I think that would be your event, Dr. JACALYN.
Well, there you go. Barrel racing, that's all about the gals.
Absolutely.
Well, to the point that both of you are making, the rodeo is a huge undertaking, especially the Houston rodeo. I sold meetings and events for 18 years, and people have no idea what goes into those specific days. To your point, they're starting a year plus early to work on the event. It's amazing. So congratulations to you and your husband.
Definitely. And, now's a good time, I think, for everybody, a completely different gear we're shifting into here, but maybe you can introduce us to the character Abella and where she came from. And you've written a series of books now based on that character, haven't you?
Yes.
Let's talk about Abella, the world's first tooth fairy.
Well, it started out how the tooth fairy tradition started. And I just loved her little personality. I patterned her after my daughter. So I kind of knew where I was going with her personality. And every book just shows a little bit different. She gets her magic wand. She starts a tooth fairy school, and now she goes to the rodeo. She meets the world famous rodeo clown. And then the book I'm working on now is she gets a new hairdo, and that's a little bit harder to do because there's just so much you have to worry about now when you write books, and especially children's books. And I think you kind of talked about that earlier. It's a different ball game now than it was when we were growing up.
Well, that actually introduces the whole idea of we live in a much more diverse society these days, and there are a whole lot of interests that need to be accommodated and a lot of concerns people have. So partly the evolution that Abella has had to take is kind of social justice. That's one part of it.
Yes.
But then there's that whole other part, and that's the media itself, because where a book used to be the way kids read, now they get Kindle versions of books and they get things on iPads. And talk about how you keep up with all that.
The main thing I worry about, and I worry about the woke, everything that's woke now, because in my books or everybody's book, they have to think, okay, how is someone going to take this? Is this going to insult somebody? When used to be, the world had a better sense of humor. And I realized that a lot in this book about her new hairdo. I had to redo those pictures. I can't tell you how many times, because I thought, I don't even know if it'll ever even go to print, because it's just getting to be worrisome. But I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, we used to live in a world where children were little boys and girls, and now you're not even sure if you could use those words anymore.
No. Bella has, fairly straight hair with a little curl. Well, then I gave her a big old hairdo. And then it's like, oh my gosh, are people going to go, what's wrong with the big old hairdo? Well, nothing. It's just different than what she had. So I have to rewrite a lot of it. And I've invested so much time, energy, effort, all the illustrations over and over and over that you want to finish it, but there's got to be a story in there that,
Right.
well, there's always got to be a lesson in a children's books, as y'all know. But I think my story is, it's okay to take a chance. She wanted a new hairdo. It got rolled on little tiny rollers, and she ended up with this big hair. But she liked her old hairdo better. But a hairdresser comes to her rescue. So there's a good story in there. I've just got to flesh it out, as they say. But no, it's a totally different ball game than when I first started writing. And that was just in 2016.
Wow, you've accomplished so much in such a short time. When you're writing children's books, are you writing toward the child, whatever age group that is, or are you writing to the adult who's reading to the child in some cases?
Oh, probably just the child. I do try to use a little bit bigger words than, see, spot, run, because when the adults read to them, they are exposed, to different words, and that's beneficial for children. So I do write the story for the child, and I want, like this rodeo book, I wanted them to learn about the rodeo. So it's just real basic stuff, but it's enough to get them interested. But yeah, I write for the kids. I write, and then you edit, but trying to make it better.
Dr. JACALYN, when you were asking that question, were you asking for a friend, or did you have somebody in particular in mind that you know personally, like you? Because you're now kind of dabbling into in the genre of writing children's books, aren't you?
Really?
Yes, we have our first.
You.
Thank you. A series of 7 children's books that I'm writing with Mariska Duprier. We already wrote the first one. It's at the Illustrator, but I'm finding with the editing that I haven't written it for an 8-year-old child. I've probably written it for a 25-year-old. So I have to.
See, that was my first one. I wrote like I was writing for Walt Disney and Cinderella. Used way too many words, and I reprinted it 3 times, cutting back on the words because parents don't want to read all those words. Not if it's a book that parents read. You've got to figure out how to get your message across with as few words as possible, so they'll pick the book up and read it. Otherwise, it gets at the bottom of the toy store, their toy bin.
As I'm listening to both of you talk about this, I'm thinking that there are an awful lot of books written for adults. Obviously, we're all familiar with them, but in a lot of ways, it's harder to be an author of children's material because you need to get to a point very quickly, and you have to do it very economically. Yes. When you're writing for adults, you can waste thousands of pages on stuff that nobody really even cares about, but not when you're writing for kids. Isn't that right?
Yeah, because you go, oh, I don't want to take that out. I love that sentence. It's like, well, you've got too many words. You got to cut it. You always do your word count, and it should be definitely under 1,000 words, between 7 and 8 or better. But writers use a lot of words. That's just how we think. That's how we communicate. And that's been the challenge. Well, there are a lot of challenges, but cutting the words back and still getting the message across. And if you want to have some humor in it or whatever, it's a juggling act. Don't you find that to be true, Dr. JACALYN?
Yes, for sure. I definitely do. But you are actually going to take your work and put it into another form. Tell us a little bit about that, about animation.
Oh, that's going to be fun. There's a guy named Rick Sigalo, and he was the one who brought Thomas the Tank Engine and Little People to TV. Well, he has signed on to produce an animated influencer series for my little Abella. We're shooting the pilot now. It's just 5 minutes, 3D, but it's a real little girl and then a 3D animated Abella. And it takes place in the little girl's bedroom. And the object is just to introduce new toys and products for children and babies. Because, Abella doesn't know any of these people things. So the little girl, they just kind of talk about it. So that is the big picture. And the pilot has not been completed, but the teasers have kind of started going out. to different, the ideas to get it on, like the Today Show. You're just talking a 5 minute, you know how you have the gadget guy? Well, this will just be for kids, and it'll be a fairy and a little girl named Everly. So they're casting Everly now, but.
So it's mixed live action and animation.
How fun is that? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds great.
Fabulous.
And another thing that looks simple when it's done well, when you're watching it, but it takes a lot of time to plan that out. And if you don't have a good story to tie all that stuff together, then it doesn't matter how well produced it is. It has to be a great story. Isn't that true?
Yes, but since now the series will be for a TV series that will be shopped separately. But what we're trying to get launched now is just this little animated influencer, and it's only going to be like 5 minutes. So it's just, and actually the guy Rick, that producer, I thought, oh, I'll write all of that. Oh my gosh, no, he blew me away. The pilot that he wrote was just adorable. So he will be the writer for just the animated series, the little influence series. But if it ever gets picked up for a real series, then they will hire writers. But that's a long shot, and I realize that. I'm just grateful that he saw value in my little books and wanted to work with it, because
that's great. And it may not be the long shot you think, knowing the quality of the work that you do. The truth is,
he's won Emmys. All I have to do is Google him, and he came down last Sunday. I'm in New York, and he's like 2 hours away. So he came, and we spent the afternoon together, because we had Zoomed many times, and but it was the first time we met. Actually had lunch and talked, and I bought some of those toys, but now I don't even know where I put them. I was in such a rush to get to this computer, but. Anyway, he's a great guy. He is very down to earth, and he's just very talented. And I didn't know, but Ringo Starr voiced Thomas the Tank, which I didn't know that. So anyway, he told me some great stories about things they produced with real horses, because he knows our interest in horses. And well, I'm just rambling now, but he brings a lot to the table. Well, a tremendous amount to the table.
That'll be great. I look forward to seeing that.
That's fabulous that you're in New York. Also, we're both in New Jersey, different parts.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
It's a small world. Yeah. Zane, I was wondering if you would read from your new book, from Abella Goes to the Rodeo.
Sure. I didn't know I was going to get to do this. Let me see. One of the best. First, this book is dedicated to a guy named Leon Coffey. He is the world's bravest bullfighter, and here is a picture of him. Can you see that?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, he was so thrilled when I called and got his permission to write this book. It just really talks about his job is to protect the bullfighters when they fall, the bull riders when they fall off the bull. The bull wants to charge them, and they have professional people like Mr. Coffey that gets between the bull rider and the bull. It says, all right, now this is the part where the bullfighter fell off the bull, and the mama cow had already told her, Abella, don't use your magic wand. You cannot change the competition. Well, Abella quickly reached for her magic wand after he fell off, and the cow snatched her with her tail. She goes, okay. So the bullfighters and barrelman sprang into action. It is their job to protect the rider and distract the bull. Their motto is protect the rider, protect your partner, and protect yourselves. One very brave barrelman dressed as a clown positioned himself between the bull and the bull rider on the dirt. As he was distracting the bull, the other bull rider fighters came and helped the cowboy limp off to safety. So it was only Leon Coffey and the bull in the ring. So anyway, to save himself, he ended up jumping into this barrel, which is real. I mean, it really is in the middle of the arena. And then the bull bats it around for a while, but the bull butted the barrel while Leon braced himself inside the padded barrel. After ramming the barrel several more times, the bullfighters showed up and were able to get the bull back to the pen. Everyone's attention turned to the barrel and Leon. Was Leon okay? Slowly, a white flag ascended, and Leon stood up, waving the flag to the crowd, going nuts with applause. Anyway, that's just part of it. I mean, the other part is what kids learn from this is when they ride a bull or a horse or whatever, they have to hold their hand in the air for 8 seconds to qualify for to win the prize. I mean, if you fall off before 8 seconds, you don't even qualify. So, and then they're judged on how bad the bull is, how mean the bull is, and how well he rides, and if he can hold his hand up for 8 seconds. Wow. There's a lot to it.
That's
wow.
No,
What?
So
I have to give you credit.
Encourage any kids to want to be bull riders, but it didn't me. But it's interesting because I learned a lot just researching this book.
I'll bet. And I have to give you credit too for being so creative that you're able to combine those two passions, writing for children and rodeo. It's incredible that you were able to find an intersection between those two topics. Good for you.
You know, that kind of got me thinking that's a good way for children to learn. After this little hairdo book, I think I'm going to write a book about racehorses because they're fascinating creatures. And what child does not love a horse? Horses are wonderful. So, and I've even talked to we have a racehorse, and I've talked to the guy where the horse stands, and he goes, "Oh, I'll tell you anything you need to know. This is what you need to do." And even he's excited about the book, but it'll have to be a trilogy because there's a lot to racehorses to get them from a baby to the winner's circle. So
are you announcing your trilogy that's coming?
As soon as I can get this hairdo book finished. Yes, I wish I hadn't even started it, but I've invested so much time into it. I've got to get it finished. I've just got to get it on the shelves.
Yeah. What I like about it too, and this is kind of woke in itself, and I have to give you credit. A lot of people think woke is something you woke. I almost hate to use that word. But when you craft a story that includes animals, the animals are participants in the story. They're not objects. They're not like props. So the animals have personalities and need to be protected just like the people do. Yes. And, you know, I think it is a story of both people and animals working together and not a story of animals being exploited by people.
No. And, you know, those animals are treated so well. All of those wild bulls and horses, you know, they're owned by one family and that's been doing this for generations. And that's their livelihood. They take extremely good care of these animals when they ship them from rodeo to rodeo. It's very interesting.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get that out because in the Northeast, the sheltered life we live, it may not be obvious based on the limited view we get of that whole industry, but in the couple of times I've experienced it myself, I've seen a great deal of respect across species, and you know, I think it's a wonderful experience, and it comes out through your book.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, I am. I'm excited to start working on the next one.
Good.
Zane, I'd love to have you speak to our audience about the business of being a writer. There's so much more than just sitting down and writing something.
That's the easiest part, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's the quickest and the easiest part.
Tell us about your experience as an entrepreneur when it comes to getting published and the whole marketing behind it, the social media, all of it is daunting in and of itself, but it's necessary evil.
Right word. And now there's now that people can self-publish, the market is saturated with writers, which is wonderful. But you do have to be creative in the way that you market it and how you do it. And social media, you've got to just stay on top of it and just keep cranking things out. One, it's your love, but it does keep you motivated because you want to just keep your little character alive.
What do you hear? What do you hear from your readers, Zane? I mean, do they write to you or call you and tell you how much they like reading the books you write?
Yes, they will write, and especially if I go to a book reading or whatever I do, especially if it's a school, they'll all send little notes, and the teacher will put them in a package and send them to me, or they will email me because I can get to me through my website, and Yeah, they all, I mean, who doesn't love a little fairy? I mean, little girls love fairies and boys do too, because, you know, the tooth fairy is international. Every country in the world has a tooth fairy version. So, and it's just fun to read about other ones.
I think your books are really attractive to look at and hold. I think I have 2 or 3 of them, but I really just like the way they look. They're beautiful, and you can have them out on a coffee table, or it's not something you would stick in a drawer or in a box somewhere
Well,
at
no,
all.
because the people who publish these, who actually print them, they do the yearbooks, high school and college yearbooks, if they still do college yearbooks. So they're very high quality. I just call them heirloom books. They're very high quality when I have them printed from there. I also go through Ingram Spark and do print on demand. And that has a little bit of a different feel to the paper, but the cover is still vivid and beautiful, and it's the same size. No, I'm very proud of them, because that's what I wanted, something that you could pass down from generation, from little kid to little kid and family members. But thank you. I thank you for saying that. My artist is incredible. My illustrator, he's a guy out of India, and it's called Between Animations. I think I sent you his information when you were doing your book.
Yes, you did. Definitely. Thank you. And what else should our audience know about Abella? Anything you want to share about personality traits?
Well, you know, she makes mistakes. She does things. She's a little bit she's spontaneous, and she does things, and she has a big heart and a good conscience, and a best friend that's very loyal to her, and she's very loyal, and she has a good family. And no, Abella is just written about, based on what a real little person. Well, like I said, her best friend was patterned after my best friend growing up. And then Abella's kind of patterned after my daughter, and has a little bit of me in her as well. So, yeah, she can be all over the map, but at the end of the day, she knows what's right. She knows how to apologize when she makes a mistake, and she has a big heart.
Great lessons for kids.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, really. And when what do you remember about that day when Abella probably didn't even have a name yet, but the character popped into your head and you decided it's time to start writing about her?
You know, it was weird, because it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was just sitting at home waiting for my daughter. And I've always loved to write. I've always written. I just grabbed a spiral notebook and started writing. Just about a very spoiled, indulged little girl, little fairy. But it wasn't until she dropped her purse and that pearl came off that I thought, oh, the tooth fairy, because that was when the light came on, and that was very exciting for me, because then I had some place to go with it, because I was just writing. I was just writing, waiting on my daughter to get home, and then the story had a focus, a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. Whereas before, I was just writing, you know, and there was so many words to it about her dress and the way, you know, like I said, I used way too many words in the beginning, but it was just how I enjoyed to write. But
Wow, beautiful.
Yes.
And how long ago was that, Zane?
I was probably about, let's see, 25, 26 years ago.
Really?
And I put it in a drawer, because that was before the internet. I didn't know how to get it illustrated. I mean, I think I sent it off to Little Golden Books, but, you know, I wrote him a letter, but I never heard back from him. So anyway, so once I found out how to do self-publishing, that's when I went with it. I mean, that's when I started. That's a laborious process, isn't it, Doctor?
It is. Yes. I did both of my books self-published, but for this next book series, no, it's not going to be self-published. I don't even know if you can self-publish children's books anyway. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I do Ingram Spark, and I do, but yeah, no, I mean, I get the LOC numbers and the ISBN numbers and the PSIP code for the libraries. I do all of that. The PCIP. I do all of that. Yeah, and then just send it to them to print and do all the editing and yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's how many hours a week or a month? Because I don't know if you're writing full time now, but how many hours do you actually spend on a book?
You know, it doesn't take long to write them if you're in the zone. I couldn't hardly do this rodeo one because I was feeling pressure from all different sides. And that's when I finally said, oh, just forget it. Just sit down and write and don't think about it. Then I wrote it. But you can probably write a book in an hour if you're in the zone and you know what you're going to write about. But when you have to struggle with what you were going to write about, that's what takes the longest. But I knew when she got her magic wand exactly how that was going to go. And the Tooth Fairy School, and it was the rodeo one I had a little trouble with. Now the hairdo one, no, I lived that. My mom used to give me home permanents all the time. I knew how disastrous they could turn out. So just depends.
I had a couple of them
this horse
too.
race book will go.
I was just thinking back to when I had a gigantic permanent. Was just, oh my gosh. And then
That was the only thing you could get from them was gigantic hair.
Yes. Al, did you have that problem?
big hair was the thing at one time, wasn't it? But
It was. I think it
yeah, I know. I remember. It's so
Especially in the South.
Are school libraries a channel for a marketing channel for you? Is that part of the marketing program for a children's
It
book
is,
club?
but I have not had any luck. Diane, I think, is probably have a lot more success than I do. Our friend Diane, you know, she's a former teacher. She goes to those library conferences, and I haven't had a chance to do anything like that because I'm so tied up with my life in Houston. But I think she's probably very successful getting into the libraries. I have not been successful, but they should be in there, but they're just not.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that. I took my 2 books over to the local library and I said I'd like to donate these and have them put in the library. And they're like, oh, well, we're not sure. And we have to speak to this one and that one. And this person has to read. I'm thinking, oh, okay. I was just donating. I don't know. So the getting to school system, I think would be a lot of work. Yes.
Yeah, I know. And because when my mom wrote her first book, I was all gung ho. I wanted to get her in all the libraries, and I wrote all the libraries in all the big towns. And no, I mean, you know, as you know now, they have committees and they vote on them, and you know, you have to have that PCIP code #1. Okay, I got that. And but I've just never. I don't know. Now in private schools, you can get them in there. That's a whole lot easier. Where my little grandsons go to school, they carry all my books. That's, you know, because, you know, they know me, they know them. Oops, wrong way. Anyway, so it's easier for private to get your books in private schools. If that answers your question.
Yes, it definitely does. Thank you.
It does. I mean, what impresses me about this is that you would figure there'd be a straight line between writing something and publishing something and marketing it, but it's not a straight line at all. It's kind of a labyrinth, and you got to know how to navigate it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Luckily now there's so many more organizations dedicated to children's literacy, and getting hooked up with them is beneficial, because I know there's the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation, and there's Books Between Kids, and the more places you can find like that, and you know, you give them your books and then they, you know, they distribute them to kids, but that's another way to get your books in front of, well, children for one. And but I've had a lot of success with that. I have a good friend who's president of Books Between Kids, and that's how I got on the Channel 11, them reading my book, because am involved with that. And so there's a lot of inroads to get where you want to go. It's just not a straight one.
So as Abella gets older, I mean, I don't know if she's growing up in your series, but will there ever be an Abella bounces a check or an Abella?
There will never be a Bella having a date. There will never be a Ken doll Bella. No, Bella's Barbie. She's not going anywhere. People ask me that. When is she going to date?
That's good to know.
Oh,
So funny.
Horace.
Zane,
No,
I
that's
read somewhere that in addition to all the boards that you're on, I believe you also donated a large number of books to help some people across the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh,
all right.
yes.
Nice.
Yes. Oh, yes. That was all of that. Ukraine. Yes.
Hmm.
My PR firm actually has a person on staff that has a doctorate in education and is from the Ukraine. So she had all these connections. So I've just mailed, boxes and boxes of books to them, and then they got them loaded up to be sent to the kids in the Ukraine. Yeah, so that was great having that connection, because otherwise, you don't know if they're going to end up where they're supposed to, or if they're just going to be underground sold somewhere. But that was nice because they did appreciate it, and they did send me a bunch of pictures, and that was very heartwarming when I started getting the feedback from that.
That's great. And what about translating the books? I mean, I know you have an international audience now too, don't you, Zane?
Yeah, all my books are in Spanish. That's the only
Okay.
other language I have them in is in Spanish.
Okay.
Everyone is in Spanish, and then they're on ebooks. But
Mhm.
no, I've not tried to do any other languages. I mean, down in Texas, Spanish is huge, and then even here in New York, because of the racing community, there's just a whole lot of Hispanic workers and
Sure.
Spanish-speaking kids, and so that works out.
Whoops, sorry. I was over here trying to pull up your website, so I didn't get to finish typing all of it. I had myself on mute, so I'll do that and pull it up in a second. So Zane, if you think about the people that you've met from all over the world, huge celebrities, regular people, it's amazing the doors that open when you make connections and when a person's open. So if you would just talk to our audience a little bit about the importance of being open to learning. And that's what Abella is teaching children how to learn new things. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to think how I can do that. Well, what I have learned, and this might not be the answer to your question, is you just have to learn to take a chance. Just like, for an example, when Marion Morris came to the rodeo, I knew she had a little boy, and I wanted to give her my book, but I was real nervous about doing that because, you don't want to be self-promoting, but I just wanted her to have the book. But she was so generous and kind and showcased my book on air live, and I have just realized that you just have to learn how to market yourself and just jump out there, which that is not easy to do, but I do think that is something that I've had to learn to do and fight to do. If you want to promote something, you have to believe in it, and you really have to believe in it, and then just take a chance and know that, well, they're going to want to know about this. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does. Thank you. And I also have pulled up your website, if that's okay. We'll share it, and then people can see where they can purchase the books.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Here it is. Can everyone see that?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. Zane, where should I go here?
Go to books, and then see, that tells you where you can purchase that book. But that's the only book that the rodeo sells. But Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Target, and Walmart sell all of them online.
Abella is a beautiful character, and
Yes.
You're to be congratulated for bringing her to life, Zane. Really, really.
Oh, we worked hard. The illustrator and I, we worked hard on her because the eyes were important, the hair was important,
Sure.
her little dress.
There's that bag that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Really nice.
There's Spanish. All right. Fabulous.
Yeah. Then I also have a shopping site where you can get You can get high top tennis shoes with Abella on it, and
Nice.
baseball caps, and all kind of stuff. If you go back to the website,
All right.
anyway,
Online store.
Shopping. See, go shopping.
Yes, that's where I am now. Online store.
Yeah,
okay.
online store. And then scroll down past the books. Keep going. Keep going.
What a library.
There. Then you can get t-shirts, sheets, hats, backpacks.
Nice.
Wow.
Coffee mugs.
Look at these
those
sneakers.
little high tops.
I love them.
High tops could be so popular. But
Yeah,
there's
really.
the 8 seconds. You know, you hold your hair in 8 seconds. That's on that cap.
I love that cap. And
Yeah.
the sneakers.
But you get it for kids, adults, and now they have the high tops in blue too. But a lot of these sayings are from my book. But
Look at this cute
fun. It's
bracelet.
just fun stuff.
Yeah,
It is
beautiful.
fun. And here we have the home goods. Congratulations, Zane.
You definitely. Wow, beautiful work.
Fabulous. Really
Yeah,
nice.
so it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun because I've always had a full-time 9-to-5 job, and so when you quit working, it's like, what am I doing with myself? So I was thrilled that this book writing has worked out and has progressed to the point that it has.
Yeah, really.
All I ever
really
wanted for
interesting.
Abella was to be on TV, on the screen. That never left my mind. So that would be a happy day I'm already planning my party. That's all I can say. I'm already planning my party.
That's great.
So happy for you. So thrilled.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And you've been a big part of that. I've been on your show at RV and TV and Business Net, all of your shows. So
I know you
been
have.
great promoting me, and I appreciate that.
And
And
we
you
hope
know,
you'll
It
come
all
back.
adds up.
It
well,
does.
all adds up.
I know your
Like
background.
at a time.
Your background is marketing, and we really didn't even get a chance to explore any of that. But maybe we'll get you back to talk about that aspect of your life
Yeah.
too, because
Okay, yeah,
I know that forms
that's
what you're doing.
challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful.
And we'd love to have you on the Corner Bookstore. Diane Floyd Bame is my co-host. We'd love to
No,
have a
that's
chat with
perfect.
you there as well.
Okay, yes, you bet. I'm gonna get that green screen so my house and all in the background. I had to clean up.
Zane, we have your information up for people who are unable to read the banner, they're on the radio. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Anybody who wants me to come to a book signing or a book reading, or if you want to purchase the book, everything is just worldsfirsttoothfairy.com.
Now, if they want to get an autographed signed copy, what's that process?
Okay. When you go online and you go to buy the book, there's a place in there, or you could just email me info at World's First Tooth Fairy and tell me, or there's a place on there when you order the books, you can have them done, or you can email me and say, I'm buying this book, please autograph it and send it to blah, blah, blah. And I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. Well, this has been a fun show. Thank you so much, Zane. We hope to see a lot more of you. And I think I mentioned to you, I have very good friends who are there in New York, and I'd love to introduce you because you guys are at the same place, I think, so around the same.
Oh, in Saratoga Springs?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yay. Okay. Yeah.
They're big horse
It's a
people.
Great little town.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll do that. But thank you again for being here. We wish you continued success.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you. I'm
Thank
happy
you,
to
Zane.
be on. I appreciate y'all letting me come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, come
Wonderful.
back. We miss you.
Oh,
We
yeah.
want you, Zane.
Thanks, Zane.
All right. Bye for